Hey guys, welcome back to the next video in my series where I'm talking about what it's like to teach in China. And today I'm going to tackle a subject that a lot of people are interested in, and that is what's it like to work with the students here. Well, it's one of the most valuable and fun parts of the whole thing. In fact, the students have become some of my greatest teachers in a way and taught me so many things about China and Chinese that I could not learn anywhere else. And I think native English speaking teachers have a lot to bring to the table for them as well. But before you can get to the point where they're comfortable expressing themselves to you openly in the classroom, you're gonna have to overcome a few hurdles. And so today I want to give you some background information about the freshmen and sophomores of China's universities to help jumpstart that process for you. First off, it would be impossible to have a discussion about Chinese students without first saying that they have a polite and almost reverential attitude towards teachers and education. Not all of the students are like that, and of course, for me, I wouldn't want to encourage that too strongly in my students because too much reverence for those in a position of power and authority can certainly be a bad thing, but the general atmosphere is that. And so that helps you to just teach and teach the best that you can. Also, because they've had limited contact with foreigners, they will be extra interested to get to know you. And it's partly for these reasons that I've never had a very serious case of classroom disruption, interruption, or rudeness, whether it be between the students and I or the students themselves. The worst thing that I've had to encounter and develop my teaching skills to meet is apathy, a lack of motivation, cell phone addiction, and shyness, these types of things. And there's a lot of reasons we could go into for why those problems exist, but I just want to try to summarize things right now by saying that they are a product of rather traditional schooling, where they are expected to passively receive, or at the very least be quiet. So they will be unaccustomed to a Western English teacher who's coming in all fired up with a completely different set of expectations, namely speaking, interacting, volunteering, and doing some activities and games. Also, for some students, learning English just might not be their thing, plain and simple, but they're being required to learn it anyway. So for these types of students that I've described, um, freeing up their fixed mindset about how they see themselves as students or as English learners in your class will simultaneously be one of the hardest but most profound things you can try to do with them. Another point to keep in mind is that China has a very exam-centric education system that has included for a long time now English exams. So I believe you'll find that the types of skills students need to pass those tests are the skills that are most highly developed in them. They will be pretty good, for example, at reading passages quickly, figuring out what's the main idea, and pinpointing where specific answers are to specific questions. And that goes for listening selections too, like audio selections. Um, some of them can be really good at grammar and grammar rules, which is interesting, because they have to be trained to score highly on grammar sections of tests. The girls especially are rather conscientious about how their handwriting looks, and they can write beautifully and quickly, which amazes me. I wish I could say the same for my Chinese. But all of those skills can mask the fact that students really can't sustain a normal natural conversation. So that is the flip side of all this English test preparation and test taking that goes on in China, is that comparatively little time is spent on natural conversation, which understandably is hard to test and hard to practice, being that this is China and there's not a lot of native English teachers running around. Not every school is going to have one. So, and that's really the most fun and valuable part of learning language, is being able to use it with a native speaker and use it in a realistic context. If they don't have the chance to do that, the students aren't going to think it's a very worthwhile endeavor. So this is where you come in, and I have seen that the native English speaking teachers are great at helping students to rekindle their interest in using English in a realistic way, in a way that's relevant to their daily life, and showing them how lively it can be and how full of spirit it can be. And that's one big reason why you will be hired, because you can help students overcome their shyness and help their English to become more um, less rehearsed and less textbook-like and more natural. So the more you understand your students and where they're coming from, the better chance you have at getting your relationship with them started on the right foot, getting in that groove, and getting your class to be more productive more quickly. I don't expect you'll have a tremendously difficult time teaching Chinese university students for the reasons I mentioned before, that they are incredibly polite and kind and funny, and they will be very interested in you almost by default. But results can and do vary. I certainly haven't seen it all, and I know I've had some trying times with students who are basically forced to be in my class or who are using my class as a means to an end totally unrelated to English. So if you are having some problems with your students and you want to hash them out with me, feel free to post your comments or questions or contact me directly. Thanks so much for tuning in again, guys. I hope you found today's information helpful, and I can't wait to see you back here next time.